We're live. Don't say any bad words for like the next 15 minutes. So we don't even get monetization, but we could get demonetized. What's up, Sophia? What were you going to ask?
Oh, nothing. I'm good.
Oh, now that we're live, you don't want to ask the question?
Yeah, I figured it out.
Okay. All right, we'll put you backstage. Okay, see ya. Bye-bye. 2 watchers, put your name in the chat. Give us a high five, a wave, something. Welcome to the show today. We're on the eve of we are on the eve. This is the eve of CrossFit Open announcement 25.1.
It's here.
It's here. Oh, Renata. Someone told me, Renata, that because you broke your foot now, we need to call you because like it's like Renata, like running or like moving. Someone told me I should call you Sitnata because you're sitting. I didn't think it was. I mean, yeah, because
Okay.
yeah, I understand where it's going. I just was like, that's
Whoever
a reach.
said that is fired.
You're fired. You're Sitnata instead of Ranata.
I'm sure she's laughing hysterically at that.
I know. She's like, what? It's a reach. John was just here. Oh, look at his profile picture on Instagram or YouTube.
Dang.
Dude, that's sick. Official. CrossFit Games Masters.
Always remember.
Yeah, never forget. Look at our behind the scenes girl. Look at her drink that thing. She was eating a sandwich earlier. It was funny. That's all right. Hey, you're good. No one can see you. I just want to bring it up to make you shy. All right, Open. We're going to be here tomorrow, Tyler and I and anybody else live to just watch the Open announcement like we've done in years past. Typically, it wasn't live on YouTube, was it?
Mm-hmm.
When we did? Oh.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't remember if we had the live going or not by then. But anyways.
I feel like that's what we did last year.
Yeah, so we'll have people on. I think we did like, I don't know, doesn't matter. We'll be on live on our YouTube, watching the announcement and just talking over it. It would be fun. Anybody think what it's going to be? I've seen a lot of people say it's going to be 20.1, which would be horrendous because I hate that workout.
Do we think it's going to be the...
But that's going to be the repeat.
Repeat the first week, you think?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I think it'll be the second week.
I thought he said that the extra hint for 25.1 was it was a repeat.
No, that's just the hint for the Open.
Yeah.
Okay.
The 3 will be. It didn't say which one.
Yeah, I was on the affiliate call, everyone. Okay. What's crazy? Well, hold on real quick, Arlie. What's crazy about Barbell Spin is literally I'm on the affiliate call and I get the notification from Barbell Spin because I'm subscribed to their Instagram, and they post the post about what Dave is saying. He literally said it, and it's like 30 seconds later.
And the clip is already
zipped
like,
oh
on
my
the
God,
internet.
dude. Not the clip, just the Canva thing. I was like, this is wild right now. Nothing is ever secret. Anyways, go ahead.
Whenever you said that it fell between 2020 and 2025, my gut reaction was 20.1 would be a brutal retest because I honestly forgot about that. I think PTSD just blacked out my mind. But if it's not week 1 and it's week
Tell everybody what it is. Tell everybody what it is.
So 20.1 is 10 rounds of 8 ground overhead at 95-65 and 12 bar facing burpees.
Yeah. And if you ain't snatching it, you're going slow.
Honestly, Devin Powell beat me in it. Like we went next to each other and he beat me doing clean and jerks that year. I suck at burpees.
Wow.
You can do it. You absolutely can do it.
Wait, hold on though. Did he beat you because the clean and jerk, or did he beat you because the burpee?
For sure, the burpee.
Okay, so then it doesn't matter.
But I mean, I think it's negligible. I think it's truly not that much faster or slower because it truly was a burpee test. If you could snatch away, or if you could move the barbell,
because you can kind of just fake it through the 8.
Yeah, you could go. I mean, because we all just did 4-4. Like you don't have to do the 8s unbroken to still get a decent score. It's truly a burpee test.
It's a hard workout, dude. That brings some pain and suffering.
I remember exploding in like round 6 or 7, and it was just like blacked out. For
the number of people,
it was horrible, and I had to redo it.
Who like wanted the people who wanted DNF, and I'm like, I mean, there's a time cap on it, so it's fine. But I'm just like, you don't want to redo. Like you're like the people that get so close to getting a time, and you just see them starting to peter, and it's like, don't do it. because you're gonna look back and go, I wish I finished.
Mhm.
And you're just suffering. You're just like, oh man. It's so that out of all of them, like those years, that's like the only workout I can think is really
No.
that hard. Like if they do the repeat this week with the
Oh yeah, this week for sure.
Sophia, pull that up. Pull out Dave Casper's thing, and we'll predict on that.
If it's this week, then I think 20.1 would be a great week 1 retest. And then I think if it's week 2 and you need something on the longer time domain, I think 20.2 would be a phenomenal retest. It's just for whatever reason sticking to that 2020 year, because that's that 20-minute AMRAP, 4 dumbbell thrusters, 6 toe to bar, 24 double unders. I think it's accessible. The fittest are truly going to stand out. I think it still is a phenomenal test of capacity, and it's a triplet MGW. So it would be
I was
very,
thinking
very
that one
classic.
or 23.4 or whatever, 23.3. The last one with the wall walk, double under, snatch, wall walk,
yeah,
double
yeah.
under, snatch,
I
Mm.
like
and
that
some
one.
push-up. Yeah, I was thinking.
Carlos threw out 22.3, which is
I'm not that one.
grandest he
Sophia.
landed
What's
one.
his? Go to his hint. Yeah, that one would be good too. 22.3 as like a final workout. Remember the hint?
Yeah.
You can find it. But yeah, if they're looking for pain and there is going to be a repeat, I think out of all those years, 20.1 is the most painful workout I can think of in the last 4 years. If they're going to repeat this week, and it's going to be true to once Sophia pulls it up, the friggin' Firestorm. It's on his Instagram. If you go to the Dave Casper Instagram, and it looks like a volcano. She's struggling right now.
It's either a log on fire or an iron forge. Either one.
Okay.
Those are my 2 guesses of what it actually is.
Either way, fire breathers. Let's see. There it is.
I think it's a piece of wood. It could be a forge though.
Something on fire that's hot. It's going to be a hot one. It's going to be spicy.
I think for separation value, if they want, to your point, that ascending snatch workout is the most separation value of any of the retests available.
Yeah, from those years, if that's even the retest.
For sure.
Do you think this week's gonna be a retest, guys? I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I think it'll be the second week.
23.3 was crazy too. Yeah, that's the one we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Snatch, wall walk, double under. Yeah, the last workout of 23.3.
Do you think they're going to be handstand push-ups in the open?
If they do 23.3, there will be.
I understand that. Yeah.
I'm banking on it because that was a really good workout for me. I like that workout a lot. So like bias wise, I hope that's the one they retest.
My neck hurts thinking about it.
Also bias wise, I don't want to do 20.1 at all ever again. That goes on the list of workouts I just don't want to do. Like it takes a lot out of you, like mentally, emotionally. So
I think I could time my best performance back then, even though that was apparently my best open finish. 2020 was in the world. When I looked through my stats recently, I was like, huh, I normally just suck as soon as it went from 5-week open to 3-week open, my placements got worse and worse.
Interesting.
In the open, even though I made semis after that, which is super weird.
Before we get into training, that's actually a good question because Cody and I were talking about this just 2 days ago. Do you think having 3 workouts in the open could be a test of fitness to go to the games? Like, let's exclude all the other stuff. Like, it's just like, this is how CrossFit is now. Wave the magic wand. It's like open games. And Greg did want to do that at one point, FYI, to where you just do the online open, takes the top 30 in the world, and they go to the CrossFit games. And then they have the large scale event. That's what his like dream was for 2019 and beyond. He just said it openly. But do you think 3 tests is enough?
For the best in the world, yes. If the tests are well-rounded and have, again, that buzzword I throw around a lot, separation value.
Interesting. Do you think?
But it has to be like
who else? Hold on, before I ask the next question. Anybody else? 3 tests enough?
I think so.
I don't know. I'm torn on that because
Sophia, you get to weigh in too after Tyler.
I think that like you're taking the entire CrossFit population and narrowing it down so much into just 3 workouts
Mhm.
that I think there's a lot that could be missed.
Okay. Comment section, put it in. Sophia, what do you think? 3 tests? Go to the games?
I'm not sure because they try to be like inclusive too with like the open. So they do more like body weight, I feel like stuff for like the first workouts and stuff, but I don't know how like well rounded it could be with just 3.
All right.
Well, I think to like
I don't know.
Carly's point, like the separation
Sounds good.
value, like if the workouts are like set up where there are significant points in the workout where like you have to have a pretty big capacity to get there and high fitness to get to those parts of the workouts, I think they could.
Do you think they could do it in one workout?
No.
Really?
No.
No.
Yeah. You don't
Are
think
there
so?
multiple parts of this workout?
Let's see. John, too many modalities. They need at least 5 workouts.
I don't think that's true.
Cody, yes, they could. Yes, they could what?
They could. So can I finish my thought?
Yeah.
So the specific part that I said was for the best in the world, the absolute best in the world. Yes, you will find the top 50 fittest people in the world with the right 3 tests. You need something long. You need something really, really sort of that 7 to 10 minute range of just nastiness, and you need skill and or loading separation value, and ideally both those things. And generally, like workouts that come to my mind are like 16-2, 19-2, 17-3, even that snatch handstand one that you just referenced, 23-3. Those are all phenomenal separation value tests that reward the fittest, not just for their capacity, but their ability to do the higher skills, higher loads with undue fatigue. If the people who are punished the most in the open, you get greater punishment the farther down the leaderboard you go. The higher up the leaderboard you are, and the higher, the tip of the spear, the pinnacle of the sport, they're separating themselves just because they are the world-class athletes. So I think you could truly find the top 50 with the right set of 3 tests.
I think you can do it in one. And I think, like Cody's saying, they've already proven the concept with Kill Taylor. Like, think about, and yes, there are workouts where like some random one-off could definitely do well in, but majority of all the Kill Taylors that we've watched, they self-select and sort. Like
That's kind of what I'm getting at. But
Taylor gets beat by games athletes that have beaten him. He doesn't get beat by semifinal athletes who call in who have never beaten him. And what I'm only arguing is that the sport has come so far now, and the training has come so far that we don't need this idea of like a balanced test. Because the point is, even if we did a one workout, you would still, because of the unknown and unknowable, how this would get my whole thing would be null and void is if they started telling you the workouts a year in advance, but versus saying, hey, we're going to do one workout. It's going to be CrossFit. It's going to be a CrossFit workout. It's going to be just like you see at .com, or you see in the open historically, or you see on Kill Taylor, because Kill Taylor is very CrossFit-y, and they never squat, which is hilarious because his knee. But he is selecting, like you're seeing those people, like Colton Mearns comes on, beats him. Jason Hopper comes on and is in a whole nother class of athlete relative to Taylor's performance. And that would still happen in the open with one workout. And everybody would get sorted where they needed because of the unknown and unknowable of the training modalities and the fitness characteristics that are required to be at the top. And the best people who are training the best characteristics and have the best training program and filling out those holes of the 10 general physical skills, the necessity of the couplets, triplets, and chippers, the aerobic capacity, the strength, the endurance, the speed, the power, all of those things, gymnastic skills, odd object skills, learning new athleticism, playing new sports, everything that we've ever preached and talked about, they're at the top. And even if it's not those 10, the next 10 will be able to do that because of the training principles and methodology. So I strongly believe that you could do it with one. And I think one workout. And I think the argument of like having more tests and a more balanced test is coming from those who are not good CrossFitters.
Agreed.
just hurt everyone's feelings.
Yeah, that's
I
fair.
mean, that's what I was getting at with my argument for 3 was that the farther down the leaderboard you are, the more punished you get. The better you are at the sport, it doesn't matter. You're going to already separate yourself. So I agree. Like 1, you probably are going to at least find the right top 100. There may be some, fluctuation of the order, but you're going to find the right top 100.
Yeah. But for fun and participation and competition, like, yeah, dude, I like more tests. I think 5 would be cool for the open. I don't like doing 5 weeks of the open. Let's be clear on that. If there was some way to do like 2 workouts a week and have 6 workouts, that would be sick. I like that idea. Like, I like more tests for the fun of it, for the experience, for people training, for the balance, for also like, sorry, I'm going to say a couple more things of why I would like that is that you can take a developing athlete or a new athlete or anybody or an elite athlete and show them through tests where they're lacking in their training or their fitness over more tests versus like 1 test. 1 test isn't going to tell you anything of how to train forward and moving forward. All it's going to tell you is like, oh, you're hitting the mark and you're a good CrossFitter, which is great. That's good. Or like, you're not hitting the mark, you're a bad CrossFitter, but you don't have enough information to make decisions on how to move forward next. Whereas when you get more tests, whether it's a qualifier, or it's the open, or it's an in-person competition, you can make more decisions and have more information for subsequent training and moving forward as an athlete. So I do like more tests for that reason, but I don't think you need it to test fitness, to find the fittest in a single moment in time.
To find the fittest of the sport. For the people in the middle, I think that like my example, right? Like I was never the fittest in the sport. And I was like, oh, my open placement dropped off when it went from 5 to 3, because I think the other workouts, like for the middle range, like higher level RX athletes or like bubble elite athletes, like I think the more tests that come out, the cream rises. So they just get more and more points to start to separate, and or there may be greater variance in the movement combinations and loading.
Or higher, like how Sophia was saying, like the open now is, I mean, I can't get on board entirely with what she's saying about them being easier, like more inclusive movements or like, body weight stuff as much as like, because the year Adrian Bosman did the open fully for himself with a repeat of 2014 workout with the wall balls, rolling wall balls, toes to bar, cleans, ring muscle up for the first workout of the open. I would argue like that's a high level athlete workout, not so like sometimes, yes, like last year's dumbbell snatch and burpee over the dumbbell. Yeah, anybody could do that. The scores are going to vary based on a lot of fitness characteristics and the training you've done, but it is quote unquote, like she's saying, like easier for most people to get involved in. So it's hard to say, it's hard to fully make that argument.
Even the descriptor of like, oh, they're more inclusive because they're body weight things. It's like gymnastics is outside of nutrition and metabolic conditioning, the largest portion of the pyramid. So like, yeah, it's gymnastics oriented because it's CrossFit. And then like that said, some of the most challenging and limiting skills for people are bodyweight movements, muscle ups, handstand walking, handstand push-ups, etc.
Pistol,
strict pull-up, pistol. Like, not saying there's strict pull-ups in the open, but my point is like body weights,
even box jumps, like
body weight does not mean easy.
Yeah, simple, not easy.
For sure.
Dude, there's so many people who tell me that. Like I think I got a text today about like from Brian about like simple, not easy. I was like, oh, come on, man. Because I said it was easy. And he was like, simple, not easy. I'm pretty sure it was Brian, one of my athletes, CrossFit Games athlete, telling me, oh, it's simple, not easy. I was like, oh, come on, make it easy. I don't know. That's my argument. Does anyone have an argument against me? Tyler, I feel like I liked where you're at because you like more tests.
Yeah, well, and I was also going to say, so if you do a 1 test open, do you do a 1 test games?
Oh, no, because you need the spectacle. I'm on board because I'm on, well, I'll tell you why. I'm on board.
Money.
Yeah, that I'm on board with the sentiment that I think Dave has, well, he said it a little bit, but early on, and these sound bites are in like Every Second Counts. It's in the documentary that's on YouTube from 2014. It's in the 2014 documentary is the cool one because that's where a lot of people pull. I don't know how many people have watched that one that's on YouTube. It's not on any of the other platforms. It was like the original documentary. And at the end, it's where it's got Dave Dave or Rory McKernan saying in the future, someone's going to back squat 500 pounds and run a sub 5 minute mile. Like that's the documentary.
Yeah.
And that's where that challenge came from. But what I was going to say was that there are sound bites from that where the games is a test of training methodologies. That's where Greg wanted to prove is that who has the best training system to beat the tests. So if that's true, the first piece of this is true. You do need to test long the way that they do with the swimming, the running, the biking, like true endurance sport. And as near as we can to that. So then that way we know that like we tested endurance sport. You do need to test single weightlifting, Olympic weightlifting or powerlifting metrics, which they've done with the CrossFit Total, snatch, clean and jerk. Like they've done those things. Overhead squat, 1RM from 2014. Like then you also do need to test our core competencies of CrossFit and gymnastic skills. And that's where like people get all bent out of shape of like the ring handstand push-ups. If you've ever read Overcoming Gravity or Gymnastics Bodies or been to a Power Monkey camp, those are like the higher skill gymnastics skill set, a ring handstand push-up. Like it's you know, down the ends of the book in the later chapters, but you build up to that into a ring handstand push-up as a male gymnast. Typically females sometimes do it depending on what program they're in, who their coach is, but those things they're trying to incorporate with that knowledge of training and developing the person to then say, come to our thing and show us that your way of training is better than our way of training. And that's why they invited Hunter McIntyre to make him look fucking foolish. And they did. And, you know, he's still salty about that because he got eliminated because he couldn't do handstand walks. Well, handstands and handstand pirouettes are in the 100 words, you know, CrossFit in 100 words. So like, you know, and like you could argue, is that a test of fitness? It's like, yeah, but he also had a 5K run. Oh no, he didn't. He had the run, snatch, rope climb workout in the beginning. And then the rowing, the shoulder to overhead into handstand walk. And mind you, the handstand walk was only 120 feet. Not that far. Like when we look at CrossFitters who are very proficient doing 300 to 500 feet of handstand walking, like asking them to do 120 feet is not a big ask, you know? So like that piece, that's why we need more tests to continue to prove who has the best training methodology. Now we know it's CrossFit right now because we've done it for so many years, but someone could create something that's better. Some High Rocks fool could come up and be like, I've been training only High Rocks method and hybrid method, and now I'm going to show you CrossFitters. But ultimately, if you look at their training log, I guarantee you they're training CrossFit to do that. Or like some football player, if football, collegiate football, or, you know, Tyson Bagent, he would be the fittest on earth if like their training system produced high levels of fitness, you know? So when we claim the fittest on earth, that's what they're looking for. And then the last piece that is also in those things, not only is it a training, like a test of training methodologies, it's also a Woodstock of fitness. And Greg has said that and people have heard that. It's a celebration of fitness community, like-minded individuals looking at the tip of the spear as a spectacle of what human capabilities are. And that's the way I look at the games. And I know like a lot of people have different ways to look at it and everything else. And if you guys have that, share, but that's like how I look at it and why there needs to be more tests, why there needs to be a 3-day CrossFit event to bring everybody in the community together to rally around this thing, to watch elite level human performance at its finest and remind us what is physically and humanly possible. And the way that we can be in awe and watch the spectacle is by having more tests that facilitate those things and then also show us, you know, like it's funny how people hated on the 5K run from 2013 so much because it was short or it was long or my Garmin or whatever. It's like, regardless of what the end time was for those 5K runs, they still ran at a pace. Like most of the men were running at a 6-minute pace and would not have changed their pace if you made them run the full distance or what have you. And the females were running also like a 6:30 pace. It's still pretty impressive. They also can snatch, clean and jerk more than most people. So like to run that fast and lift that heavy, again, proves the efficacy of our training methodology, but it also is allowing us to see like, oh man, this is how they got here. This is how they became what I would argue the elite hybrid athlete that everyone's chasing. Everyone's chasing, I want to become a hybrid athlete. Well, here's how you do it. You know, the next Joe Schmo selling their hybrid program online is, I mean, I don't want to hate on people, but like Christy Ermo for IBEX and her husband, Patrick, they write a great program for IBEX. I think people could follow it. It's wonderful, but also don't get hoodwinked by their messaging and branding. Christy Ermo ran marathons prior to CrossFit, phenomenal marathon runner prior to CrossFit, was one of the best in the world in CrossFit, got really strong, trained at Westside Barbell to improve her strength through quality training methods to be better at CrossFit, continue to train CrossFit. And now since she's retired, selling you that you can do this too. So I don't like that very much because there needs to be more conversation and forthcoming about, I did all of these training methods, all of this training and years of training and like did strength, did endurance, did this, did that to build, like Harley brought up the pyramid, build the pyramid of fitness over time. So I know it's like a big tangent, but like that's how I view the games and why I would want more events. Is that a good reason to have more events? That
Sure.
don't include testing.
Yeah, that's fair.
Who's the fittest?
Sure.
All right. Rebuttal. I want to hear it.
Refute
No,
it,
I'm-
Tyler.
I agree with that. I just think that if with like the one test for the open, I just think that if that like, but I understand your viewpoint, like what you were saying about like you can have one test, and if you're truly training the CrossFit methodology, the best will still rise to the top even with one test. I get that. I agree.
I also would like the weird outliers to go to the games, like because there's gonna be one or two. It'd be cool to be like, oh, dude, this person's in for it. Oh, you made it to the games with one test, man. Hey, I'm so glad you're good at dumbbell snatches and GHD sit-ups. I'm so happy.
It's like when you have like the regular person go and do the Olympics, and you're
Mhm.
you can compare like what the rest
Because
is
I think
like.
about they call his name is Matthew, but they call him Metthew because it looks like he's making meth in his shed in his in his training, because it's like a shed in his garage. He's a cool guy. They've had him on a bunch of times, and he takes a good joke. So like it's just the joke. But he has beaten Taylor, and it was like GHD sit-ups and dumbbell snatches. But still, he's got to have the fitness to do. It was like 100 GHD sit-ups and was it 100 snatches or 50 snatches?
It was enough that I didn't want anything to do with it.
Yeah, it was.
That was when I was still training, and I was like, "Oh, I might do it this week." There's GHDs. They said have a GHD, and then they announced it, and I was like, don't want anything to do with that.
But it was cool, and like he beat Taylor, and let's say okay, because that's the only person that has like really beaten Taylor. That is when you look up them on the game site, that has been under him and near that echelon, right? So there are opportunities for these random people, but I would argue, like, isn't that cool? Wouldn't that be cool to let somebody and be like, yo, in February you made it to the games, so like get with a coach, get in an affiliate, get with some games athletes, like let's go, man. Like let's see, as long as you're safe and CrossFit knows and everybody else knows that this person is like, hey, they're a ringer in that event that they gave out. Well, cool though. Like let them go, get their uniform, have the experience, protect them, you know. But I think it'd be neat.
I think they could. I don't think they should. Like, what if? Well,
I mean, I just wouldn't do a workout. I'd be like, oh, I can't do that.
You got all the gear.
That's-
You got all the
no,
gear.
what I'm saying, no, what I'm saying is they could find the fittest through the open, but they shouldn't because of the community drive, the celebration of fitness, etc., that you just used as an example for multi-test at the games. That's still a good argument for multi-test in the open. It's
100%.
just through driving engagement, celebrating community, utilizing fitness, bringing people together, all of those things.
Even
so
that
just 'cause you can doesn't mean you should. What if they just made week one? There was like week one, top 20 goes to the games, and then from there, after week 3, the next 10 after that go to the games.
Oh, that'd be cool.
That'd be so. Then you still get 30 people out of the open, or like each week it's 10. Like top 10 in week 1 go to the open, top 10 in week 2 go to the open, top 10.
Would you like fill down?
Yeah, like if it's the same people.
I like that.
Yeah. And it's a running count. So like the leaderboard at the end of week
40,
1.
if you take 40 men, 40 women, you have 3 weeks. You could take 10, 10, 10, and then the last 10 could be the other 10 that of all 3 weeks, like the running count.
Yeah, that would work.
That'd be cool. I like that. It's just fun ways. Like you could do whatever you want realistically. And that I think that's the main point now, because sport and fitness and training for this thing has become so, and everyone's going to hate that I say this, so predictable in how to create elite fitness. And that could be elite fitness from the end point, like the CrossFit Games champion, to Priscilla in our gym, who's 71 years old, you know, and that pinnacle of fitness and that method and that training applies across the board. And that's the same thing that Greg has said for many years. We don't vary by kind, we vary by degree. And I think that holds true more so than ever at this point in time, watching people. That's why I make the argument for like, how many tests? Because I know everyone's like, oh, we need more tests. It's not balanced. So we hinged all this week, because you're going to hear it over the next 3 weeks. You're like, it's pulling from the floor every week. And it's like, well, you did 5 other workouts, hopefully, like throughout the week. So if you look at CrossFit methodology, like, unless you're hinging those other days,
Right.
like you're the only one who made an error there. Like you can hinge, like you could hinge on a Friday and hinge on a Friday every week. And that hinge could be different. Deadlift, snatch, clean. Those are all hinging movements from the floor. And you could do that Friday, Friday, Friday in your CrossFit training, and you would still be doing CrossFit. So I don't know. I only use that as an example because that was like a big one that came up, but I don't know. We're going to hear it. Are you guys ready to hear all the complaints? I don't like this workout.
Embracing myself, yes.
No, this workout's so tough. Yeah, it's supposed to
It
be
was
tough.
like the year when they came out with crossovers and everyone said, this isn't CrossFit. This isn't CrossFit.
Yeah, that was crazy.
I'm like, what do you mean?
Cody was terrible at crossovers. He sucked.
People were really mad about it. But that always happens when they announce something new and people aren't prepared.
That
for
was
it.
the funniest thing. So like Cody, let's tell a story real quick and then we'll talk about training definitions. Because I think this is good, because I didn't intend it for it to run this way as far as like talking about the open, but like kind of happened where it's like, oh, training does matter, and how you get fit and how you get selected for events and become fitter all goes back to the training and method and everything else. But yeah, Cody, this is how we met Cody. So we put out originally when we first started the gym here in Rochester, it was like anybody who wants to do quarterfinals, because we only had a small group. Now we have it internally. We're not even putting it out. Like, I mean, you could reach out to me if you think you want to come here for semifinals, and we'll have a conversation. But like only internally have we invited our athletes who are going to make it to do it, so we can give you a good experience, do all the coaching for you, run the timers, run the clock. Basically, all you have to do is come here, warm up, talk some strategy, and hit it like a badass mofo, and then like go cool down. And we got you. We got everything else.
Watch your language.
I said mofo.
You said badass.
All right.
mofo.
Sorry, guys. I tried. But yeah, so like depending on our signups for internally, we might put it out externally. But yeah, it's Cody did that because early on we didn't, we had a couple of people coming. We weren't overwhelmed with the capacity and the experience we could give. So we put it out and we're like, hey, like the cost of our individualized design, someone could come for the weekend. And Cody was somebody who came and paid, and that was great. And that was our first exposure to Cody. And I was like, oh, he's pretty good. Like, but then like he had a obscene meltdown on the crossover single unders. And I was like, dude, there's no way he's coming back tomorrow. Like, but he came
It
back.
seems like a pattern. He has a meltdown on the first workout.
He like couldn't do any. Harley was here. You remember that, right? He was in the group with you guys, and like I don't even know if he got back past a round. Not even sure.
Cody, I believe in you for this first week. You're gonna do it.
Sophia's dying laughing. She can't.
I mean, the only reason I had crossovers down was that you guys programmed it and Ascend it in like November. You programmed crossover singles, and I was just like,
it was actually end of September.
whatever it was.
I remember,
I remember
I was like so proud that we like started doing them and like early on. So proud of myself.
I whipped the shit out of myself for like 12 minutes straight. And then I got a different jump rope because I was like, it has to be the rope. And then I whipped myself with a new jump rope for an hour straight. And then I ended up meeting with the jump rope coach who was like, yeah, you do have the wrong rope. Here you go. Here's the right rope. And she gave me like a quick breakdown of how to do it, little 5-minute like crash course. And then I just did them like every other day for months. And then they came out. And here we are.
Here we Oh.
Never have to practice them again. Still got them down.
Nice.
Cody,
That's-
can you
that's-
do them yet?
That's some good
He
training.
can do them.
Cody, are you sure? Are you sure you can do them? You should do 10
He's-
right now to figure it out.
He's good.
Prove it.
Yeah, do 10. We'll bring you on. I'll give you a link. You want to do 10? Where are you at? I'll give you a link right now. Send
Right
you-
here, right now. Prove it.
He's recovering. His shoulders are messed up, he said.
Yeah, there's no way he can handle 10 crossover singles. That's way too much volume.
That's true.
Hold on, Sophia. I'm gonna send you a little thing here, a couple more, because I thought I sent you these ones, but clearly these couple didn't go through. But we got them right here.
All right, let's define training.
Yep. And then Sophia, if you bring up Adrian Conway's one that says you will be limited by your base, that's the one I just sent you. You'll have that in a second. But so training, basically I sent this out to the coaches, and you could change this definition a lot, but I think working definition wise, training is teaching or developing in oneself or others any skill and knowledge or fitness that relates to specific useful competencies. Training has a specific goal of improving one's capability, capacity, productivity, and performance. So I like that definition. There's like a ton out there that you could be using. And I like that because it does come into CrossFit and any type of fitness in general. And it could, or sport really, like if you can't catch a ball, you need to learn how to catch a ball, right? And improve that. And you do that by training. And I used the joke earlier today. Someone was talking about it. And I was like, yeah, you train your dog because you don't want them to bark anymore. So like you come into the gym to train because you don't want to suck at X. And then someone was like, yeah, or you don't want yourself to bark anymore. I was like, oh, good joke. But anyways, I think there is a big disconnect in training for people versus getting a good score in a workout or getting a good workout out, like getting a good workout and sweating and everything else. You don't have to train all the time. I think it's something to cover, like, depending on who you are. If you're trying to be elite, you should be training all the time. And it's to improve a characteristic or a movement pattern or mobility, or like if you guys want to give examples of things that you're trying to train to improve each individual session or piece, I think that's what we're looking at when we talk about training. It's not to get the A+ 100% outcome for that thing.
Yeah. So I have a very brief anecdote. Yesterday's workout at the gym was 6 minutes on, 2 minutes off for 5 different stations. So 30 total minutes of working time, 38 minutes of clock time. We all know that with that work to rest ratio, you're not really going to come back down in that 2 minute rest. So it's probably better off just to look at it as a sustained effort. But due to the movement combinations that were included, some reps, and it was for total reps for the score based in a class, some reps accumulate faster than others. So someone was like, I'm going to send it in this station so that I can get the best score. And I was like, no, that's a terrible strategy, because you're just going to ruin the rest of your session. If that station is like station 2 for you, you're going to have 22 more minutes of work to continue to suffer, and you're never going to come back down from it. I was like, you should be looking at this as a total sustained effort, because this is training, not competing. It doesn't matter what SugarWOD or the leaderboard says, because it's just a Tuesday workout. You know what I mean? So I define things as working out. That's like no goal of progress, right? Because that was a very specific point to your definition you shared, was trying to develop something, develop a skill, a capability, etc. Then training is developing a specific quality, and then competing is optimizing an outcome. So I think those are the 3 lenses or buckets that I try to categorize how I'm going to approach a session, or how a client should approach a session.
Yeah, I love that. Sophia's going to bring up the fitness pyramid. We're going to be pulling some things off of people's Instagram, because I wanted to use these as examples, because I think a lot of people get their information from Instagram nowadays. Keep in mind that there's snippets and snapshots. Adrian Conway owns True Fitness. I worked with him. We're colleagues when we both worked at Bruce Strength Training, and he does a really good job of writing up stuff. He was level 1 trainer, guy I really respect. Harley doesn't really like his program very much for competitions, which is fair. To each his own. Iron Games. Harley's not a big fan. That's okay. There are lots of workouts I'm not a fan of either, Harley. I just
I
want to
like how you just like put me on blast. Just
I know.
I'm gonna
like,
put you
Threw
on
him under the
blast, dude.
bus.
No,
just-
no,
Just like,
hey, listen.
oh yeah, Harley said he didn't like these
It's about-
programs.
not
Workouts
every, it's not every
should
workout.
run.
It's just, it's a funny little tidbit. It's funny.
I've heard he's a phenomenal coach, and I know his athlete Drake Lewis, and they seem to be thriving. So he's crushing it. Like I think he's a great resource. Go ahead.
Yeah, I love Adrian. He's great. I mean, and
Go on.
I agree with you though. Some workouts, and I mean, look at that's the point. Like when I worked with him at Brute, there'd be things where I'd be like, "Why are you doing that?" You know, and vice versa. He would ask me why I'm doing that. So the pyramid we have up is the classic CrossFit pyramid, like Harley was talking about earlier. The base of the pyramid is nutrition. So like you could even look at nutrition training. Can be nutrition. You could be training yourself how to eat real whole foods. You could be training yourself how to work on entering your macros and learning about what each thing on your plate equates to. So you don't have to track your macros forever. But if you don't learn that thing, then you're gonna have to track your macros forever and like use a scale. But if you start learning and training what that actually is for you, you can master that. So like even the base of this pyramid, like you gotta train it. You gotta train your nutrition. I was talking to my dad. He does CrossFit. He's a highway patrol officer, like retired, and we were just talking about training and some other stuff. And he went to this gathering, and my dad, he's like me. He likes cookies and bagels and like processed bakery items. And he was,
You do?
I know, I love them. This guy like came, and this is like one of the first instances because my dad's fit, like he's in shape, like all of us. Like, you know, it's not too often you go places where like you're in really good shape and like there's a bunch of other really good shape people unless you go to a CrossFit competition or a CrossFit organization or like some fitness thing. And there was this guy at this event they went to, my stepmom and him, and he was really fit, and he was just saying how like, yeah, but he lost like 60 pounds. And what he started doing was being more intentional about his nutrition and started eating meats and vegetables only, basically like the CrossFit prescription unknowingly, and training himself to say no. Like that was his training aspect. Like someone would say, hey, do you want to have this or try this? And at work, he would just say no. And he had to practice that and be intentional about like the improvement of him saying no to somebody offering him something like that and not feeling guilty about it. And they went on this whole conversation about it. And my dad shared with me, and it was just like, moral of the story is my dad's going to start saying no to stuff like that and just not eating it because he wants to lean out. And he already lost like 7 pounds. But again, like back to the training thing, it's like he's intentionally training himself through nutrition. So like to Harley's point, like there are 3 different things. Like you're not going to keep, well, unless you have like a gym competition of nutrition or you're like on the First Form nutrition challenge, you're not really competing in nutrition, but you definitely could work out, as like Harley described it, your nutrition. But ultimately, I think when people are working out their nutrition, not training their nutrition, you're just going to gain extra weight. Like, cause my dad's not in bad shape, but he's not in the shape he wants to be because he was quote unquote working out his nutrition rather than training his nutrition.
Can you define what an example of working out your nutrition would be? Because I'm trying to think of some in my head, but like I think I could probably come to some conclusions.
So generally eating healthy, real whole foods, like a bagel. You say the word bagel, most people, okay, bagel or donut? Choose one for healthy. Which one's more healthy?
Bagel.
Most people are going to choose bagel, right? Orange juice or orange?
Orange.
Yeah, like because the glycemic.
Go buy more oranges.
Yeah.
Quick plug from the citrus growers out there in the world.
Go buy more. But my point of that is like his intentionality, like so working out his nutrition is just like trying to eat healthy with no plan or anything. But his training, his nutrition is, I'm going to cut out processed carbohydrates, meaning, you know, anything that's not a single source fruit or vegetable. I'm going to cut it out. And when people offer me cake, I'm going to say no. Those are his training actionables.
Yeah.
For that.
I think it's also like creating like boundary. It's a boundary, right? Because you can obviously, like you can say, well, I'm not going to eat these certain things, but then you kind of like, it gets gray area of what that is. So it's like you're eating mostly, you know, fruits and vegetables and meat, but then you're still like, okay, I'm going to eat donuts and I'm going to eat these things, which is fine. But like, it's
that's
not
what
like,
I do.
right. Which, yeah. And again, like that is fine. But I think the point is like creating that boundary for
I
yourself.
definitely
that when
don't train my
when you
nutrition.
get posed with that, here, have a donut, then you're like, oh no, I'm going to say no to that.
Yeah,
Right, but if you
boundary is a good word. I thought structure and systems, right? But I think it's creating a similar, perspective to those interactions is, whether it be a boundary of like, I say no to these things and I don't cross that boundary because my system and my structure to my plan requires me to save those macronutrients for other areas or those calories for other macronutrients.
Yeah. So like Renata's saying, figure out what you need versus sticking to a plan is like training. So like, yeah, that could be like the intuitive thing. Like that's twofold. So like figuring out what you need is part of training versus just like specifically figuring out what you need versus just like, I need to eat real whole foods. I need to eat real whole foods, and pre my exercise, I'm going to have 2 grams per pound of kilogram of carbohydrates pre-training. So then I can support my exercise. That would be training your nutrition rather than being like, oh, I'm going to have an apple. Now the apple will help and, help you get through training and everything else. But it's not like detailed and actionable.
Like starting a workout plan or regimen, whether it be, actually a systematic, strategic approach to training your fitness and developing performance qualities, that's step one. So like, I think for people like in this nutrition side of it, this perspective of nutrition is like starting to set boundaries and then choose the apple for your pre-workout is probably a great place to start for 99% of people. But it's once you have performance in mind or development of specific qualities in mind and how to optimize, that's where training needs to, become the next step. So it'd be like training is how you level up. Working out is just how you get started.
Or sustain what you got.
Yeah, that's good.
I like
maintenance is great. Yeah, to maintain.
When you're using the word performance, it's interchangeable with desired outcome, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So just so everybody knows, we use the word performance. I use the word too, but it also could mean desired outcome because it could be
the way you perform.
Yeah, it could be any level of human, whether you're a tip-top games athlete or beginner into a CrossFit gym. Like you're looking for desired outcomes, like Renata is saying. Cool. And then, I brought up the pyramid, and like I was just giving the example of nutrition because I think that's big, and it's the biggest piece of this pyramid, the general CrossFit pyramid. And we do need to start honing this in. Every human being on the face of the earth, and buy more oranges because that helps Harley. Wait, specifically which ones?
If you can come across Sequoia oranges, that would be our company, but they're few and far between. I've only seen them out in the wild once in my entire life.
Whatever. Start ordering Sequoia oranges, everybody. Nice plug. Helps Harley out. We would really greatly appreciate that. Anyways, and it's nutritious. But yeah, so this pyramid, and we're going to bring up some other pyramids here because people like structure generally. You guys all do. I do. People want to know steps and processes, and we've basically outlined that and why we're saying like the difference between working out, training, and performing is clear to understand. And the way Harley listed out was phenomenal. So we want to know those things. And we also want to know, like, there are tons of these pyramids out there on the internet. You're going to find them everywhere. This is the CrossFit pyramid. Adrian has made some other ones and we'll go through that. But you always want to work on the base of that pyramid and continue to build it even after you feel like it's built. So then we move into metabolic conditioning, which we touched on, and would be simple but not easy movements that build up your robust system of anaerobic, glycolytic, and aerobic properties. Anyone disagree with that or want to add to?
I heard someone, I think it was Ben Bergeron, define metabolic conditioning as the way you utilize your nutrition. So cool. Metabolic being metabolism. So to your point, energy systems, translating that intake, aka nutrition, carbohydrates, protein, etc., putting it to functional use through fitness. So that's another broad way to look at it. But yes, energy systems, utilizing fuels.
Cool. And then the next layer in CrossFit is gymnastics, which is moving your body weight through space. As Harley alluded to way earlier, is these go from something as simple as, I shouldn't even say simple because it's really hard. Let's say air squat. I was gonna say push up, but I know that like there are a lot of people out there who do struggle with push ups. Should master your push up, but from the air squat all the way to a pistol, or the push up all the way to like a ring handstand push up, or a pull up all the way to a legless rope climb. And so they can, and then even variations of that, weighted legless rope climbs. On the rings, you can do back roll to support. You can get crazy with these things, but moving your body weight through space with even things like agility, jumping, pulling, squatting, pushing, you can do all of those things calisthenically and gymnastics. So I would say calisthenics and gymnastics together there are the same thing. But I just want to add that piece. But like, yeah, you're building those things and then going into weightlifting from there. And like the tip top of this pyramid is sport. And so many people, like Harley was saying, focus on performance, getting the best outcome every single day in a CrossFit workout, or you're going on a run and you're trying to hit your paces. That's at the peak of this pyramid, when really we should be training more and looking at the other facets that are larger in the pyramid. Go ahead, Harley.
And then there's like a deeper psychological layer of like getting the best outcome in like a daily workout. People are looking at that through the best outcome is the best score, not the best execution of the session.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like a deeper layer to that I think is a misconstrued situation.
Yeah.
Carry on.
Yeah. And ultimately it's the idea of trying to get you guys to train more. So like Harley's even saying, like the best outcome may not be getting you further in your performance outcome. Like and the next day and the next day and the next day, right? You might crush it in a workout for you and be really proud of it. And your coach comes in and goes, great, but we got to do blah, 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 blah. And then you get so deflated, but it's because you were so focused on protecting your grip or protecting this or doing that, that you weren't pushing out the intention of how you're going to build your biology to become more fit. You know, you might be at the peak looking at sport, and as a coach, or the intention of the workout that day, or the training program that you're in and the phase that you're in, you're trying to improve metabolic conditioning. And instead of pushing yourself really hard to the red line because you're doing a lactic threshold piece, you were protecting yourself so you could have a better score, which we see people do a lot. And so that would be competing, not training. But I want people to know, like in CrossFit, this pyramid here, like sport is so small, but I would argue that some people flip this thing on their head, and sports at the bottom.
And they're thinking more about how can I beat the test as opposed to how can I make myself more well-rounded in whatever the thing is that they're working on, whether it's metabolic conditioning, gymnastics, weightlifting, whatever. So that they can build their fitness beyond just like that one test. And I think people are just like looking individually, like, how can they just like in class settings, right? Like, oh, well, I won. And it's like, well, could you have done better if you did X, right? So I think they just like think about like this one baseline and like not what their long-term fitness can be.
Right. Sophia, can you bring up the stability isometric pyramid? Just building into that, like just broadly, like that's what we're doing in training. We're trying to improve in CrossFit. We're trying to improve those characteristics: nutrition, metabolic conditioning, gymnastics, weightlifting, and sport. Then Adrian also has this one, which I think any physical therapist, strength coach, PT would agree with, having a pyramid approach. Because again, people like structure. I chose all these pyramids because they're all over the internet. I got some other people who have pyramids that we're going to go through. But for training approaches to systemize and understand, to give you context so you can work harder in your training, work smarter, not harder. So like the base level here is stability and isometrics. So we're talking about like joint stability and building isometrics. That should be a base of your strength development and power. Like if your joint is not stable and you can't apply force in it, like a closed chain, safe environment, what makes you think you're going to take a barbell and snatch it overhead? Right. So like understanding this flow, I think is pretty important, because then you go into endurance, which I think some people would say is, and you could argue these, I agree with these only because I think most people need endurance and stability before they start doing strength and hypertrophy. I think for health and longevity, or even performance, if you're stable and you're able to go and continue to go, whether that's muscle endurance, cardiac endurance, ventilatory endurance, whatever, I think those will make you go really far in your human development properties.
Can I challenge this just a tiny bit?
Sure.
I've Trainer Road on one of their podcasts discussed how myogenesis is faster than mitochondrial genesis.
Yeah, I have
So-
that. I have that. I have that slide, but yeah, go.
So my question then would be developing endurance and then developing musculature. You're then developing more musculature that doesn't have the capabilities of being enduring. So I would argue that it's almost inverse, and it's almost two different paths. Like if you
Yeah.
need to develop strength, then you need stability, hypertrophy, strength. If you need to develop muscular endurance, then it's stability, hypertrophy, endurance, and then strength is in a maintenance sort of bucket off to the side.
Yeah. It's really just, again. So
I'm just
this
thinking
is-
out loud.
I love this because this is the main point of getting your information off of Instagram, because this is incomplete, and Harley's pointing that out. I do like it for broad and generally, but yeah, he's 100% right. Like strength, honestly, in this pyramid, if we're talking about the different ways that you're going to utilize that expression, this is not a good pyramid, right? That's what you're saying. Okay. And I agree with that. But just to give people context, it's a good way, right? So like, that's the problem with Instagram in general. And that's why I want to pull some stuff from Instagram, is just like show you the error. And I'm glad you did that. So like, when you're going through this pyramid, like Harley's saying, if you're trying to develop a characteristic in your training of absolute strength, well, then this pyramid doesn't matter at all. And you might have pulled this from Instagram and been like, this is how I'm going to build my strength. But it's like, no, well, realistically, like you might flip these a lot and go stability, hypertrophy, strength. And then speed, power, and strength could all go together, because speed and power push strength up, and strength is an expression of speed and power.
Yeah, and it may not even be like a bad strategy if you just looked at this and you were, coming off the couch and you're just trying to get into the gym and do all of that starting from scratch. But for someone who's trained, by going from stability and thinking of this as like a periodized, like I'm doing a cycle of stability and isometrics, I'm doing a cycle of endurance, then a cycle of hypertrophy, and those are 3 to 4 weeks at a time. You just may waste a month of time if your ultimate goal is developing strength and power by doing a cycle of endurance before hypertrophy. Like, I think it's just maybe just a waste of your time for the quality you're trying to develop. But for someone coming off the couch, sure, this is great.
100% if that's the goal, right?
Yes,
The
correct.
goal in training, you're 100% right. That's, you just wasted your time following an Instagram post. Is giving you some guidance, not the full guidance. But yeah, it's good. We keep going. Sophia, pull up the how lifting weights changes your body. That'll be a good one to go to. But yeah, so the point of like bringing a lot of this up is just to get people to open up their minds around training. Open up that like you're not haphazardly doing stuff. You're working out if you're just haphazardly doing stuff. Also, anybody else, feel free to poke holes in these things, because I just pulled them up. There are things that I liked, but again, I love it how Harley just showed everybody how like this is problematic if this is your way of trying to change your body and it's incomplete.
And again, I'm trying to give qualifying, examples as well, that if you're just getting started, like get started, like working.
Oh
out
yeah,
is
yeah.
square
No,
one.
we're beyond that. Like for people,
Yeah,
I think
for sure.
consistency, doing a program, health and fitness, number one. It's more for the people who are coming 3-5 days a week. It's more for the athletes who are training 2 sessions a day, one long session a day, trying to compete at local comps, trying to compete at the CrossFit Games. Like, this layer of stuff is beyond that. And so, yeah, I agree with you.
I'm also not trying to tear this down and being like, this is all wrong, because there's tons of value in a lot of this stuff too.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, I just don't want us to worry about the people starting their journey, because we're here for that. We wouldn't be here if like that wasn't the reason. We're just trying to add more layers to other people. So this is from CSCS, and a company that actually helps people study, learn for their CSCS exam. I really like it. And just scroll through, because I just want people to know like how lifting changes your body. So increases muscle cross-sectional area, so muscle hypertrophy, So it makes your muscles bigger, increases the cell size. Go slow while I describe these. And then this is important for people to know is that strength training does decrease mitochondrial density. Whereas cardiovascular, and it says if paired without cardiovascular training. So those of you guys who just are strength athletes, you will decrease your mitochondrial density and your ability to transport nutrients to those muscles, but you can increase insane amount of mechanical tension. And the reason for that is like AMPK signaling and mTOR stuff that you are not signaling right enzymes and pathways in your body through strength training that would create more mitochondrial density versus aerobic exercise and how that gets created through your body. So just strength training, void of cardiovascular training, will decrease mitochondrial density, which is very important for health and longevity and performance. So it's just important to know that like some of those people out there just lifting weights could improve in lifting weights. And Harley's seen this by doing more aerobic activity.
Yeah, dude, the way you PR your push press is just by cycling for 6 months straight and not lifting weights.
But you have a huge training history.
That was a joke. I did not hit a PR, but anyways, go ahead.
But you did, before the cycling endeavor, you did improve your strength characteristics by doing more aerobic activity. And you've said that as well. And so it's because he probably increases mitochondrial density, which increases recovery, which allowed him to express strength and energy expression better. All right, next one, Sophia. And then you increase carbohydrate storage in the working muscle, so you can effectively eat more carbohydrates and build more muscles because they become big bags of glycogen that hold glycogen and allow you to use them for exercise.
Glycogen is a fancy word for sugars in the musculature.
Yeah. What are you going to say, Heather? No, that's
I'm
good.
just laughing that he's eating a big piece of
bread?
baguette.
AKA sugars. That's
Yeah,
why he's eating bread. Carbs are not the enemy.
I
A
know.
lack
All the
of
time.
strength training is.
It's making me laugh.
Well, a lack of strength training paired with a lack of cardio. Next one, Sophia. And then increase connective tissue, tendons, ligaments, bone density. Keep going. And then enhance neural adaptation. So brain to muscle connection there. This is great because neural connection is important for fighting Alzheimer's, dementia, falls, aging, just general athleticism. So strength training can increase. Look at you. He's laughing. I just think it's powerful. You got to get
I'm just in my own head over here.
Yeah. Getting the brain to connect with your coordination of your body is hugely important. And we need to know that strength training, building more strength, will improve those things, not light ass weights, man. Okay. Let's see. What was Marissa saying? Falls, you say, Todd? Yeah. She's bringing this up. I told her the other day, I was like, you should look at the driveway camera because I fall on the ice like every day.
That's hilarious. I had a conversation with a lady
bounce.
Yeah, I had a conversation about falling with a lady one time, and she was like, "Oh, you think strength training is going to prevent you from falling?" I was like, "To a degree, it makes you faster, better balance, reactivity, etc. Unless your name is Todd, then you fall down in New York."
Yeah, it's because I'm just trying to go fast. I don't even care. But the other thing is, I slip, I fall, and I get right back up, and I have like no injuries from it.
Correct, because you bounce, you have more soft tissue to absorb the fall. That's productive.
Yeah, she's like, apparently I had no clue. He's falling on a daily in the driveway. You could look at the camera
every day.
It's not every day. All right, click the next one.
Enough for her to note or look back on the camera.
And then you increase resting metabolic rate. More muscles burn more calories at rest. So I just want everyone to know that because like those are basic characteristics that you get tested in your CSCS about. And why the value and importance of building muscle, which most people have been beat over the head with a stick about, but you can't get away from it. This is science. Like building muscle is a part of training and you must do it if you want to improve your human performance. You want to be better at CrossFit. You want to age slower. You want to protect yourself from falls on the ice.
But what if you don't want to get bulky?
Dude, No one has ever said that. The amount of work I've done to try and get bulky, like, trust me, you won't get bulky.
I just accidentally lifted one weight one time and I
It
just got
got
huge.
Yeah.
Just got huge.
But anyways, I wanted people just to see this because it highlights like why we would train versus just working out. Like working out, you can get these things for sure. But if you're not actively like trying to get stronger, you're not lifting heavier, you're not going to build the muscle, you're not going to mechanical tension tissues, you're not going to increase the lean muscle mass you have, especially with like not intentionally training your nutrition. So that way you can increase your resting metabolic rate. Like all of these things, you eat more carbohydrates if you lift weights, right? So just having
more weights, more cookies.
Yeah, more weights, more plates. Isn't that how it?
No, it's more plates, more dates. Is
Oh, my
the
bad.
guy.
Got it wrong. That's a good one though too. But yeah, just knowing that of how to build muscle and directing your training in that way can be just a goal for people. And I wanted to put that out there. Like, but most people just want like PR, so it's like that's fine too. Like you're gonna lift some heavy ass weights. So if you go to the CrossFit training one. And we're just trying to go through some of these, like I said, the Instagram posts, like giving greater context for people and training. So this one's on CrossFit all the time. And it's skill development forever, which I really like. I just like the big skill development forever at the bottom there to help people understand that like you're training forever. This process of coming in the gym and trying to make yourself better is a every single time process until you like the open is coming. You're not training. You're trying to get the best score possible to put yourself as high on the leaderboard as possible. Same thing like with you sign up for a marathon race. Well, you're going to train for that. And then when you get and you're going to get to marathon day, you're going to try and get the best race time possible. Right. But if you're trying to get the best race time possible every day in training, you're not going to make it to the marathon. You're probably going to get injured in the process and it's going to be terrible. Don't do that. So these general physical skills we know are the 10 general physical skills. And I like this because they have training plus practice, and then practice are the categories. But all of that comes under the encompass idea of what we've been talking about with training. So if cardiovascular, respiratory, stamina, strength, and flexibility, you have to train those characteristics. Like they don't just inherently come by fine motor skill or brain recruitment pattern or neuro drive and development the way like power and speed do, or agility, which come through practice. So like, it's like the difference between capacity and like playing the piano, playing a song correctly, or playing the song slightly incorrect, but really, really fast. That would be like the difference there. That's a poor analogy. Harley, you got another analogy that there? Like the capacity versus like skill learning? Or like the person who comes into the gym and can just like rip on the rower, but then they can't do a ring muscle up. Like those are the two different things. Like you training how to be better on the rower requires you to train it a lot and in a lot of different ways to build the robustness of that capacity. Whereas like doing a ring muscle up, if you have the requisite pulling and dipping strength, is a learned and practiced skill. It doesn't require capacity unless we're talking about doing like 40 for time. But is that a good one?
Yeah. I mean, I think the Echo Bike, you get on it, you express capacity, you just go full dummy. There's no technique to it. It's just who can lay down watts into the handles and pedals. And then there's crossover singles, where even the biggest, strongest, most athletic guy in the room, Cody, got stuck and couldn't do them.
Yeah. And so like even in this Instagram post, it's still breaking down what we're talking about and training and showing you, again, another format that's not a pyramid, but just formulation of like, what is practice? What is training? What is practice and training? And that can help you guys as a tool. You can go to CrossFit training and decipher these things. You can also make your own like your own set of like, what's training? What's practice? Like if you're trying to build aerobic development, you could write training and be like, I need to row 20 calories per minute under that training bucket. I need to learn how to catch the rower and get in a good catch position. That would be practice. and like skill acquisition. And you could put that under that. And that would be a good way to segment something you're working on. If you're doing ring muscle ups and you need to train the dip endurance or the strength of the dip, but you can get into the rings really well. So you're training the dip and you're practicing the movement of the ring muscle or the ring swings. Just trying to give people tangibles. Anybody else got anything tangible?
Yeah, I mean, I think those are good ones. I think before the call, you were talking about handstand push-ups. I think there's developing strength, speed, and positioning. And then there's handstand walking, which requires some level of shoulder stability, but it's much more coordination based. So both are, I mean, they're two different movements, of course, but one requires, maybe the better example would be wall walks and handstand walks, right? So wall walks, more accessible. A lot of people can express capacity there, and they may have the requisite strength to stabilize through a single arm to walk themselves up the wall a few times. But the ability to coordinate and develop balance and stability and accuracy within the hand placement of, the handstand walk or even a handstand hold away from the wall may be a very different experience. So you can take similar shapes, movement patterns, that could be lumped into one basket, inverted time on your hands, and then develop a plan of attack and what your priorities are in laying out your training. So saying like, I'm going to spend 1 day a week trying to just do 5 minutes of quality handstand hold practice. So I'm developing the skill side of it, and rather than always just doing wall walks for a time. Right.
Yeah.
Or you could, and keeping the skill side in a unfatigued state or a fresh state, and then doing capacity work, expecting to develop some fatigue. So I kind of got lost in the middle there, but that's all I got.
No,
Awesome.
that's good. But yeah, just breaking down your training, and you can use a notebook to do this. And I like this example because it is within the vein of CrossFit, and it can help you break those things down really well into sections.
Is it breaking down past training or just planning your future training? Like
Both.
what your priorities are. So
yeah.
I think reflection is huge.
Yeah, but we coach. So like, we're going to probably do this for you and say, hey, you need to be working on XYZ, right? But yes, athletes should still do this for themselves and then also engage in the conversation. Because if I'm like, hey, you need to work on your speed and your burpee, and you feel like you need to work on your pressing strength, and that's what's slowing you down, that conversation needs to happen between the two of us. But yes, individual athletes who don't have a coach, like, you're going to have to do all of this on your own for sure. Yeah. Cool. All right. One of the last ones before, because we're, coming up on the hour that we try to do, and Sophia's going to leave here. So I'm going to take over. All right. So this is the doctor I was talking about earlier. I think either way, she's really great. She's been on Active Life. She's got a lot of good posts. Someone to follow. But what I've recently, she's a coach and has a PhD in exercise science. Some of the things I get along with what she says, some of the things I don't. I think some of it's because she spent a lot of her time doing PhD work rather than working with a lot of people. And so sometimes there's disconnect. And something that Marissa sent over to me through the Hyrox training, actually, for the certification, one of the things was saying that, like, coaching people, and I love this because I was talking about cooking one time and the analogy didn't really land, but they too talked about cooking. You could go to culinary school and get all the information and education you have, but you're never going to be as good as somebody who has information and has been cooking for years, because there's just a lot of things that they're doing differently through experience and building and everything else. So again, good follow. Some things I'm on here, I'm like, you clearly haven't worked with hundreds and thousands of people. And then also too, they're selling a training program, which they are now working with people online. So I'm sure in the next 10 years, probably some different messaging from her and their company, but mad respect to the PhD and everything else. She also does have a really extensive training background. And I like this post because it brings in her little backstory and gives you some information about herself, VO2 max testing, training, which is great because your athlete history does come into play in every movement endeavor you choose to do. So like me doing yoga, I'm pretty good at it because I did martial arts. A gymnast goes into yoga, they're going to be pretty good at it because they did gymnastics. Like same thing. You got somebody who played football, they're going to be really fucking good at back squatting. But so then she has her own pyramid and talking about the Hyrox and the hybrid approach to training, which I look at, and we covered the CrossFit pyramid. So this is where I'm like, I deviate from a little bit of stuff that I agree or disagree with. But you look at her pyramid, it's got aerobic base, strength and skill base, so which Harley was alluding to. But you could talk how like aerobic base, strength and skill base fall under metabolic conditioning in CrossFit. And then we'll take out the gymnastics area from ours and go into weightlifting and sport. So she's basically got those here played out. But I do like breaking this down of how she's approaching how to train for the Hyrox training. And at the peak of her pyramid is hybrid training. At the base of her pyramid is aerobic and strength and skill.
What's the green?
The green is glycolytic capacity, improving recovery capabilities.
How about right underneath that?
Oh,
The
it's
darker
improvement.
green.
Yeah, improvement of mileage, volume, and capacity. And then on the right side there is increased lifting volume and skill. So yeah, before you say anything, I do like this though, because it is like what we're talking about. She's breaking down training and not saying like people should follow this or not follow it if it resonates with you or you fall under, because she gives her backstory. It's good for people to do this because you can systemize yourself. And I do this with my athletes. I don't think they realize that I'm doing this, but I'm like, you're here with this and you need the priority of this. And like 2 times a week, you got to do this because we're developing the skill of this and we need exposure to that. Then you need the VO2 max training with the high glycolytic training. And we got to make sure, and you're slow. So now we got to add in. So like she's made her own skeleton or template to explain how she's going to do her hybrid training. But at the peak, the very top is the hybrid training. And I assume, and I could be wrong in this assumption, but I assume that means like doing workouts where it's like, I'm going to run a CrossFit workout where I'm going to run 400s and do 21 deadlifts, 5 rounds for time, because the other things are so individualized and broken apart, which I like.
Yeah. So I just have a hard time seeing it from where I'm at, but since there's a line down the middle of those 2 larger portions of the pyramid, I almost look at these as like 2 separate paths. And I don't know if that's what she's looking at. Like on the left, aerobic base training. If for someone who has a strength background, like as she says, I have a really strong strength training history, I'd assume she spent more time on the aerobic base side. And for someone who maybe used to be a marathon runner or something like a triathlete, maybe they are spending more of their time developing the strength and skill side.
You're dead on, because I zooming in on my phone. She has the little red arrows. It says want to try to skip, and then she's got other ones. It's like where you need to start.
Yeah. So it's understanding where you are in the start of your journey and the qualities you already have.
Yeah.
And then you're spending your time developing the other side of the coin of this like hybrid approach, thinking of it as black and white or heads and tails. Mm-hmm. If you already have the aerobic side, you need to develop this quality you're not as proficient in, essentially.
Yeah. And I like it. I like how it breaks.
I mean, that's how we talked about it at the camp, right? We gave that type of messaging to people who came out to the camp in January, and describing that the way we look at training is we find people's deficiencies, whether it be MGW, short, long, middle, to keep it within the CrossFit verbiage. And then we try to bias training to develop those specific deficiencies. We want to fill the holes and create a well-rounded holistic athlete rather than just developing someone's strengths and specialties.
Right.
So it sounds like the hybrid approach in her definition is very similar. It's just more of, heads and tails rather than.
It's more detailed, which I think CrossFit could learn from, because I don't think this is very far from CrossFit training.
It's not
at all. I think it's identical. The reason why I brought it up last was because I like the detail that she's brought to it, and the things that you've pulled out of it already are amazing. And it's like looking at, you could train all these things and get really fit and be a quote unquote hybrid athlete, you'll be strong, you'll have aerobic capabilities. But like what you're saying is like eventually you'll see with people, and we see this with high level athletes and even people who are not high level athletes, who they get up to a sticking point and they're like, why can't I run a little faster? Or why can't I lift heavier? You know? And it's because of like what Harley just broke down is like, you might need to be skewing your training to different pieces of the puzzle. And I like how she has this pyramid and different pieces of the puzzle in a structure that makes sense to her and is sharing with the rest of the world. And I wanted to dissect it a little bit because I think the general characteristics of like the aerobic base, strength and skill base, improved mileage and volume, or just take out improved mileage and just be volume and capacity, increase the lifting volume and skill, glycolytic capacity, recovery capacities, and improved general capacity at the top there. And then doing the hybrid training. You could replace that with CrossFit. You could replace that with running. You could replace that with biking. The tip top is the activity at its purest form, arguably in a sport form for most of these, because everything I just listed does have some type of race or competition that you're going to engage in. But the three below it with the split pyramid is like Harley's saying, it's all the things you're going to train. And you got to be specific and detailed in your approach to those training things, or else you're just working out. Is that like good? Rounded it up for you there?
Sure thing.
Perfect. I like when he's leaning back. Okay, I can't really see his head nod sometimes because the screen's real small. All right, and then the next slide is focusing on your weaknesses. I mean, everybody knows that. Harley touched on it. Greg Glassman has said it in the form of, if something comes out of the hopper that you're afraid of, then that's where you know you need to spend your time. They said that in the CrossFit Journal for a long, long time. So this isn't a new one. And just like looking at like getting faster in your speed work, getting faster in regular running, or getting faster on tired legs, like whatever, like Harley was saying, bottleneck or limitation that you need, you got to be focusing on that, because it is going to increase the quote unquote well-roundedness or holistic approach of your fitness. This slide I like to bring up, and I wasn't a fan of because, well, I mean, she tells her story, but I think a lot of people find these training models like 80-20 or, you know, high intensity CrossFit or hybrid training, and you're going to use all these models all the time. And it goes like back to what you're bad at. Like if you have no aerobic base, you need to be doing the 80-20 model to a fairly good degree. Like most of your training should be easy to build out and get the like interleukin 6, building more capillaries, increasing mitochondrial density. Like that only happens at low and slow intensities. So doing 80-20 if you don't have a base is a good thing. She alludes to how she has a base and she was doing 40 to 70 miles a week in her training. So that's why she broke the 80-20 rule. But I think it's like a little misleading here and encouraging people to break the 80-20 rule. But it's like, yeah, but most people weren't running 40 to 70 miles a week. And if you were, cool, you could go ahead and break the 80-20 rule, because what she was trying to focus on is harder running for Hyrox.
Like you got to think about that, man. That's 5 miles a day. Like 8 miles a day. I misspoke.
Mhm.
Yeah, 8 miles a day. Misspoke there.
That's on the low.
That's assuming you're on the low end and you're running 5 days a week.
Right.
Like that's a good chunk of volume a day.
Yeah. And she said how she did that for a while, for 2 years. So you're running the 80-20 protocol for 2 years to build this huge aerobic base so she could do ultra marathons and everything else. And now she's getting into Hyrox. So like as a coach, I'm like, yeah, duh, you need to work on your speed. You're probably really slow relative. So then she, you know, breaks it down. She's doing one hard interval day, one Hyrox compromised running day, which again is high intensity, high speed, high output, one less moderate effort Hyrox conditioning day. So wall balls, farmer's carries, Burpee bog jumps, sleds, 2 easy or longer zone 2 runs, because you still got to keep the base, and then sometimes extra tempo or fartlek work, which again is speed play. Both of those examples are speed work workouts in running, and all of this to me is like she just took the 80-20, flipped it on its head, and is going 80-20, but 80% speed and intensity, 20% low and slow, which is totally fine to do because the situation that she's in, the goal that she's trying to achieve, which is faster running for Hyrox and higher output threshold for sustained period of 60 to 90 minutes for the test that she's going to test herself in. And that's why I like this
And
breakdown.
she's talking about it within the context of a 12-week training cycle leading into or training through these 3 different Hyrox events.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, you need intensity because you're training and peaking essentially for 3 different events within 12 weeks. Yeah. You have to be able to express power. You have to be able to sustain high threshold efforts.
Right.
Or high output efforts, sorry, above threshold or at threshold.
Or just holding on the threshold for dear life so you can get a good Hyrox score.
For sure. But like, and it's for a cycle of time. It's not saying she did this indefinitely.
Right. And then I like this little piece of like adding in more, but easy. It's because like once you have your training structure like this, like her to add more in here would be, and like she said, it's like right here, danger, proceed with caution. And I like that little piece on the slide. It's just saying don't add too much. Like volume isn't everything, especially if you're trying to do high intensity. And I would say that with CrossFit too. I see a lot of athletes try to add more, but it's like you're not even hitting the high intensity pieces with quality and intention. So why are you going to add more volume on top of something that you're already doing the shit, you know? Because you're just going to get hurt. And then I do like this other slide too, because it's like this approach isn't just reserved for one-on-one clients or like the head coach, which I think like people see CrossFitters inside of a CrossFit gym or the coaches in a gym, and we're doing this type of training. It's not just reserved for the hybrid athlete like that we have in our, we call them hybrid athletes because they do class and they do some one-on-one, and then we have one-on-one clients, and then we have the class clients. And then we have ourselves, which I know some of the members see Heather and I do more training or, you know, some of this type of training. They also see us do some of the class workouts, but we're doing a lot more than most people because we can handle more. And our goal is a little bit higher than them. And we have 90 minutes to 2 hours to train. Whereas people, I mean, I would argue most people do have 2 hours to train. They just need to find the time in most situations, not all. But yeah, so she's breaking it down that like, I like this slide because it's telling you that, you know, it's not just meant for her or the head coach or the one-on-one. And then here's their sales pitch at the end there to go ahead and buy our training, which is totally fine. But I liked bringing those posts up from Instagram because you can learn a lot. There's like Harley said, there's a lot of missing details. You have to read into these things. If you're still watching, comment in the chat of how many of you guys actually look at Instagram and go into this much detail and thought process about a singular post that you saw. I don't think very many
Well, I think
people.
a good approach is like looking at like where the influencer, whoever, like what's their background? Like what have they been doing? Like what's their training age? Like all those things. I think like so many people just like put stuff out there and they're not necessarily like wrong in what they're saying and their approach, but like it's like how does that apply to you, and like how does that, like is that the right approach for you and where you're at in your training?
Yeah. But yeah, did you send me something, Harley?
No.
Oh,
Jace posted that he got his invite and he signed up.
oh, sick! Congratulations, Jace. Going
Official.
to the NorCal Classic. He's an official boy. That's fun. Sick. Do we have any other congratulations? I can't think of anything right now.
Just unofficial stuff from Monster Games that we posted.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we gotta wait for those people once they get it official. We got a lot of people. We got Emmanuel, 35-39, Lauren Cullen, 45-49. We got the team of the two shorties.
Sub
Shorties, which is Meg and Celine. And then
Haley Michelson, 40-44. That's 5.
And then Noah's athlete. Oh, we were
We
just talking about it. I'm drawing a blank.
With Bill Samaripa.
And then I'll pull it right here.
Bill Samaripa.
And then Christy.
And then a maybe for Brittany. She's a few spots out. That might be a backfill. So we're at like 8 people.
It's good. It's pretty good. Let's see. What did the comments?
You going out there? Kansas City?
I don't know. We'll see.
What?
We'll see who goes. Everything. We got more stuff to shake out for the open stuff. Because I mean, all those people are unofficially. They need to get their invites, and then we need to see.
No, I know. I'm making the assumption that everything's good. copacetic.
okay. Yeah, then we're looking at it. 0% of the posts read in detail, Marissa says, laughing her ass off that none of you guys read these posts in detail or think this deeply about it. Cody, I don't, but Jace should because he's taken on Jason's post was way off. Wait, or his take on Jason's post was way, or Jason's.
I don't know. I
are you
mean,
talking
going
about?
back, so he's saying that whenever Jace was talking trash to Jason Hopper
Mhm.
about Dallin, and then if you look at the Nona Noble or whatever it was, the guy who breaks down like power rankings of things for the World Fitness Project, the power rankings has Dallin one spot ahead of Jason as well. So doesn't.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So Cody, it's a split jury. It doesn't really matter. Hung jury doesn't matter.
Split jury.
Whatever. Hung jury.
Same.
doesn't
You
matter.
got it. You got it. You got to the hung jury. All right, Marissa's saying that was good content, but it still has a sales pitch, which is true. Like we do that also. And everything on IG at this point, I think it's a sales pitch. But it's always good to be aware when consuming content because there are more people out here in the world trying to sell you something. And like there are people who are dead on. And I'm like, yeah, buy what they got. It's great. And there are some people like, oh man, this person's gonna get paid for this. Like, I don't know. So yeah, there's that. Here we go. Just like semaglutide was a majority funded, its creators and testing done to have it approved by the FDA. That's true. Dude, the semaglutide thing and the FDA, I went down a rabbit hole about it. And I'm just like, oh
I
man,
don't even know what that is.
it's a peptide. So
Oh, sick.
it's the weight loss drug that everybody talks about. You can buy it at Costco also.
Can you?
Yeah,
Oh
some
my
Costco's, not
gosh.
all, but and you have to have a prescription. You know how like you can go get your prescriptive glasses, like and they have the
Oh,
pharmacy,
okay.
like
They
you can
need
go.
some kind of
Yeah.
prescription,
Well,
okay.
no, but you can also get semaglutide. You can get all kinds of peptides from like California hormones and like things like that. But what's crazy to me is that the classification of the peptide that semaglutide's under is very similar, and I know they innervate in different ways than a lot of these other peptides. And somehow, well, I know I'm going to punchline it. Somehow, semaglutide gets chosen to reign supreme by the FDA.
Somehow.
Well, because it's the weight loss one. But then you take something like BPC 157 that is an anti-inflammatory and can promote better gut health. Primarily, in most people, that's what you would use it for. Crickets. Don't use this. It's bad for you. The FDA has not approved it. Well, why? Why? Oh, wait, because we can make way more money on people who want to lose weight than we can on people who want to decrease their inflammation. We got Tylenol for that. No, we can't disrupt Tylenol. How dare they? Anyways, I don't want to get on conspiracies or anything like that, but
It's true though.
when you think about it logically, yes, more people want to lose weight, and you can make a lot more money on people who want to lose weight than you can on people who want to decrease their inflammation. I don't think anyone can argue with that.
But cold plunges.
Dude, it decreases your inflammation. I'd still do them. Marissa's the queen of cold plunges, and I bet you she'll tell you.
The queen of decreased inflammation. Her inflammation's so low, it's practically negative.
Wait, you're saying the extreme endurance pill might not be legit? Yeah, maybe.
Dude, I don't think that extreme endurance pill is not going to help you, Cody. I don't think it's going to. Sorry, it is not going to help you. I did too. Yeah, I said double negatives. It's you're screwed, bud.
But I bought 90 pills for $180.
Sounds like a steal, man.
10 pills a day. Don't choke on the pill, by the way.
Marissa
Like
said, just to get them all in by tomorrow.
Matt, I really need more than 10 pills a day. Yeah, dude. Before the announcement on Thursday.
Yeah,
Dude,
it's a steal, man.
Abigail Domit got stuck in her throat, so be careful taking those pills. You might choke.
Nah, he has a great gag reflex.
Oh, let's see. You can't get the over-the-counter semaglutide at Costco. They do have the pharmacy at Costco, so yes. Yeah, that's what I meant. The
Okay.
ones at the pharmacy, like not like
Okay.
not like
I
you
just
go.
thought it was
no,
like,
no,
you
no,
could
no.
just pick it up next
That's why.
to the.
That's why I said no. That's why I said
next
like
to
the prescription.
vitamin D.
No, like you go and you get your glasses.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
now. I
some
understand.
Costco's have pharmacies. Ay. I didn't think I had to explain that to you.
Yeah, but
Any-
you can get bars of gold at Costco.
Can you?
Yeah.
Wild. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Start stocking up on precious metals. The economy's going to shit.
It might be. Or you could just buy oranges and then Harley can be our orange daddy.
Orange Daddy. That's my new Instagram.
Because like sugar, because oranges are sugar. So I was just, that was a reach, but I did it. You're right, Harley. I'm as good at breathing through my nose to increase anything. What?
In case
Oh, in
anything
case anything
happens.
happens. I see the choking hazard. Also, I would say that Cody's more elite at breathing through his nose than Harley is. So there's that. Sniffles. We should call Harley Sniffles. Unless you
Yeah,
guys can
on
come up
that
with a
note.
better name. Just say something.
I don't think that's necessarily accurate, but okay. He has to use an airwave. He breathes through his mouth.
That's true. He does. Do you, oh my God. The last airwaver, Cody Knopfennagel. Does Rich?
I
Does Rich
find that really interesting. Like, because Airwave came out right after I read Breath and started looking into like
Sure,
Patrick
John
McEwen
Gillen.
and stuff, and getting more into nasal breathing and understanding of that. And then Airwave came out, and I'm like, why would anyone want this thing that's encouraging you to breathe through your mouth? And then everyone's letting it hang out of their side of their mouth, doing nothing
No, they wear it
with
during
their
the,
mouth wide open, just like
they do it during the work. They do it during the
it's
workout.
like
Hey,
cool, dude.
well,
Kind of defeating the purpose
They-
there.
No, I mean, who doesn't wear it during the workout? Like James Sprague wears it during the workout.
I don't
They
know.
take it out.
It's still encouraging mouth breathing, right?
Yeah.
And I understand that
And relaxing your jaw and maybe bringing away some face tension and jaw tension, which I would argue that might
those
be
are all good things. Yeah.
greater performance effect than the actual like uptake of oxygen.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that the there's a clear line just past threshold where you shouldn't be breathing through your nose anymore anyways. Then you're limiting performance. So nasal breathing is not an end all be all thing. I understand that. And within our space, it makes sense to a degree, but I found it very counterintuitive and contradicting to everything I had just read whenever it came out. I was like, wait a second. This is weird.
I do like it for like squatting and stuff, even though I forget to use it because like clenching down.
Are you gonna start wearing a mouth guard like Kyle McSherry?
No, that's what the airwave is.
No, you need something more heavy duty.
No. I don't need to go that far.
Just giving a hard time. I just remember he pulled out his mouth guard once to squat in your garage, and I was like, "What is that?"
It can help.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Alrighty. We're well over an hour. We're at like 90.
No,
We're
we're
at like
killing-
100.
'cause we had, hey, this was a good one. Chock full of information on training, the difference between working out, training, and performance. Hopefully, more people decide that training is good for them. And that's what we want. Encourage you and convince you to be training, not getting a good ass score until you need to, like 2 days from now. Or a day. I mean, if you do it Thursday night, a day from now. 24 hours from now, we're going to be on the internets talking about how it's so good. 25.1.
I'm ready to
hopefully it's not
be heard again.
one, because then you won't be talking about that.
All right. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Share this with your friends if you think it was valuable. Love to get more views on things. It's fun. Doesn't buy oranges. What else did we cover? Harley, what do you mean get hurt again?
That's a
Here's
line
the-
from The Office.
Oh,
It was a joke. People often do it or post it, the meme, to refer to doing the open workout or just any workout.
yeah.
I'm ready to be heard again. It's fine.
Sick. You're going to do fine, dude. You,
You did 100 chest to bars last week. You're fine.
yeah,
Dude, I'm primed. I did dumbbell snatches this week. Dude, I'm so ready.
sick. But how many double unders have you done? Actually, you
Dude.
don't have to do any. You're such a good double under.
I never have to do any more double unders.
Hey,
I have
Sick.
one. Think I can do 1,000 unbroken?
you probably.
I stopped at 5 minutes the other day because I was like kind of losing count, and I was like, I'll just stop and see if someone else was counting too. And they were, so we were close enough.
How many did you get?
520. He counted 525. I stopped at 520. I thought I got 520. I stopped at 5 minutes even.
Yeah, I believe in you. You could do it. You're probably one of the only
pretty
people I
sick.
know that could do that. Well, CJ might be able to. She's pretty good.
Yeah.
CJ's gonna hate that I says, but I think you're better at double unders than her.
She walked in the gym yesterday. I was doing crossover dubs, just goofing. And she was like, I just made eye contact with her as I'm doing them. And she's like just walking across the room. So I'm like looking at her like this. And she's like, "You're so cool. You do CrossFit?" And I'm like, just mad.
That's sick. Yeah, you are very good at double unders.
Anyways, gonna end on a high note for me. So the call can end now. We can toot my horn one more time and then we'll log off.
You're a double under master.